Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about my must-watch players in the 2021 NFL Draft, meaning these are the guys that I'm looking at to figure out where they are going to end up landing, and once we learn where they end up playing for their NFL career, or the first couple of years of their NFL career, unless they get traded or they don't get re-signed, and they end up just completely sucking, this is what we need to know in the draft. I'm excited for day number 1 of the 2021 NFL Draft coming up 6 days from now. I know a lot of you guys are excited as well, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the guys that you're going to want to be looking for when you're watching the draft to see where they end up falling, because if they land in the right spot in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth round, then you are going to be very happy with that player. And if they don't, you might want to worry and pivot a little onto a different player at that position to love for fantasy football in 2021. So if you guys do end up enjoying this video, before I get into it, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day talking about fantasy football, NFL, as well as the NFL Draft. And this video is a combination of both. I'm talking about fantasy football and the NFL Draft at the exact same time. So without further ado, let's get into it. The most polarizing player, in my opinion, in the first round is Devonta Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama, and that's because this guy is known as the Slim Reaper. He's 6 feet tall, but he doesn't weigh a lot. He doesn't weigh a lot. He just doesn't. He's super skinny, built like a fucking twig, but this twig won the Heisman. This twig put up 1,800 yards last year in 12 games, 117 receptions on 147 targets for 1,856 receiving yards. For 15.9 yards per reception, he had a 34.6% target share of that Alabama Crimson Tide offense, 79.6% catch rate, 23 receiving touchdowns, as well as 1 special teams touchdown. So what makes Devonta Smith so fun to be looking for in the first round? It's because we really don't know where he is going to end up going. There are a lot of teams that I would not be surprised if Devonta Smith got drafted to. The reason why we kind of don't know where he's going to go is because who's really sure who's going to be the second wide receiver off the board? Now, unanimously, we're not even going to talk about him in this video. Jamar Chase is going to be the first wide receiver off the board. Now, obviously, there's a chance that some team is just crazy and they end up drafting someone over, Jamar Chase, but according to the Vegas odds, Jamar Chase will be the first guy off the board. So where does Smith go? Is he going to be the third wide receiver off the board? Is he going to be second? Maybe he ends up falling even further than we thought, because some people are not sold in on the guy because he is so frail. But I don't get it. I don't think most NFL teams should be concerned, but people will be. So where's the best places for Devonta Smith to land? In my opinion, I think the Lions are a very good landing spot. Now, some people might think that that's a little bit crazy. Nick, why do you want him going to the Lions? It's because he will be the only wide receiver there that is going to do anything. I understand that Jared Goff is not Matthew Stafford, but I think this is very ideal because he is the clear number 1 on the team. Another great landing spot would be the Arizona Cardinals. I think that the Arizona Cardinals would be very juicy for him to be the wide receiver 2 next to DeAndre Hopkins. They clearly don't have a wide receiver 2 there. Larry Fitz is going to play. Christian Kirk is going to play. But none of those guys are the wide receiver 2s at that point in their career. Christian Kirk just never really was able to be it. And Larry Fitzgerald is old as hell. But it is what it is because he's still going to play. But I think Devonta Smith would love to be in such a just gunslinging offense in Arizona. Now, he'd have to fall decently far for this to happen, but again, it is entirely possible that Jalen Waddle gets drafted over him. Another kind of landing spot that I think would be very good if he fell a little bit later would be the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I understand the Raiders probably won't end up drafting a wide receiver, but since Henry Ruggs hasn't been the greatest, maybe when he reunites with his boy Devonta Smith, he can start lighting it up like Snoop Dogg on 420. I think that the Raiders are a very good spot because Derek Carr is very good. My favorite spot for him is the Dolphins, because I love the Dolphins. They're my favorite team. Hopefully he falls to 18, but if he doesn't, because he probably won't, I do really think that the Lions would be a very good spot for him. The worst spot might actually be Philly, because it seems like every single wide receiver that gets drafted to Philly ends up being a complete and utter joke. The next guy to talk about here is running back Javonte Williams out of UNC. Now, Javonte Williams is not really being talked about all that much compared to a guy like Naji Harris or Travis Etienne, who are likely to be the 1 and 2 pick at the running back position, but the odds aren't completely out of the favor of Javonte Williams to be the number 1 running back off the board, and he may just end up landing in the better spot than those other guys, and we will end up being very happy with Javonte Williams. Now, Naji Harris, Travis Etienne, and Javonte Williams, I don't think, if I'm being honest with you, more than one of them get picked in the first round. I would say it may even surprise me if one running back is drafted in the first round. With how late running backs fall now in NFL drafts. A couple years ago, you're seeing Saquon go top 5, Chubb getting drafted early, Zeke getting drafted early. Nowadays, teams are just fucking waiting until the second round, so don't be surprised if Williams, Etienne, or Harris don't end up getting picked inside of the first round. This man is 5'10", 212 pounds, 21 years old, out of North Carolina. Now, some people are going to worry about, oh man, this guy is slow as hell, a 4.57 40-yard dash, but if I'm being completely honest with you guys, I wouldn't worry too much about his speed. In 11 games last year, he had 157 rushing attempts for over 1,000 yards, 1,140 yards, 22 total tugs, 25 receptions on 30 targets for 305 receiving yards, and a target share of just 8.4% of that UNC offense. Why is that? Because Michael Carter also plays on this team. We're not going to be talking about him in this video, but I genuinely believe if Williams is put into the position to be the lead head honcho back in the backfield, he is going to have a whole lot of potential to be very dangerous in fantasy football. Where are the best landing spots for running backs? It's kind of easy. It's the Steelers, because the Steelers obviously have a very good running system. James Conner wasn't even the greatest, and he was great a couple of years ago. You add Le'Veon Bell, now you add Javonte Williams potentially. The Jets are not the greatest spot, but he would be the starting running back of that team. Same thing goes with Atlanta, as well as Miami are probably your best bets for the running back to go there and be successful day numero uno. So Javonte Williams is a very interesting player, because he might just end up being the first running back off the board. Next up is Jalen Waddle, wide receiver of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Jalen Waddle might be 3 inches shorter than Devonta Smith, but he weighs more than him. 5'9", 180 pounds, out of Alabama, 22.4 years old for Mr. Jalen Waddle. Now, Jalen Waddle is skyrocketing up the rankings of NFL draft analysts. Does that necessarily mean that he's going to be a great fantasy asset? Not necessarily, and that's why, again, we're looking to see where these guys end up getting drafted. Jalen Waddle probably going to end up being a first-round pick and potentially the second wide receiver off the board. Now, he doesn't have these miraculous stats that a guy like Devonta Smith, that a guy that Jamar Chase have, but he probably would have this year if he was able to end up staying healthy. Only ended up playing in 6 games, 28 receptions on 32 targets for 591 receiving yards, 7.5% target share of that offense, 87.5% catch rate, 4 receiving tugs, as well as 52 special teams yards. So Jalen Waddle isn't necessarily the alpha wide receiver on your team, right? But if he's the number 2 on one of these kind of more sparkier offenses, I think that Jalen Waddle could be very good. The dream, the wet dream that J. Cole was talking about when it was the first time and he was in his math class, that's going to be the Los Angeles Chargers. With Justin Herbert would be my dream landing spot for Jalen Waddle. I think with Keenan Allen, with him, I understand Mike Williams is the number 2 in this offense, but that guy can never really seem to stay healthy. He's never really had that electrifying year that we all, as fantasy guys, always think Mike Williams is going to have. He's in the perfect scenario. Maybe it'll happen this year if they don't end up getting Jalen Waddle, but if they end up drafting Jalen Waddle, I'm going to be very, very high on him. The Lions is also a spot if Devonta Smith doesn't go there, and the Dolphins are a very juicy spot as well. Maybe not for fantasy, but real-life purposes, I think Jalen Waddle would be very useful in this Dolphins offense. Next up, we got another running back, Travis Etienne, running back of the Clemson Tigers. 5'10", 215 pounds out of Clemson, 22.3 years old, 4.45 pro day, 40-yard dash, 80th percentile speed score, 54th percentile burst score, and 33rd percentile bench score. for Monsieur Travis Etienne. Interesting enough, his best comparable player on Player Profiler is Deandre Swift, running back of the Detroit Lions. Very interesting because you guys all know that I'm a big fan of Deandre Swift. Don't love his situation in Detroit because they brought in another running back behind him, but I do think he is a very talented player. Now, again, when it comes to running backs, the best spots are the Steelers, the Jets, the Falcons, and the Dolphins would be the most ideal spot. The Cardinals are also a sneaky spot, but now that they brought in James Conner, I'm not too sure that he will be, if they get drafted there, they'll be useful like day one. It'll probably take a decent amount of time, and that would be probably the worst case scenario for, obviously, redraft fantasy football. So, when it comes to Travis Etienne, this guy played 4 full years at Clemson, and he was a certified beast his sophomore and junior year. His senior year did not play as much, only played in 12 games, so he wasn't able to rack up all of these accolades. 1,600 yards 2 years in a row at the rushing category from 2018 to 2019, 20-plus touchdowns in 2018 and 2019, 26 in 2018 his sophomore year, 23 his junior year, and this guy is also very good in the receiving game, which is important for fantasy football because if you're a guy that is able to get these dump offs, you're going to be on the field more, which means you're going to be getting more work, and most leagues are half PPR or full PPR where you get that point for that catch or the half point for that catch in his last 2 seasons. 37 receptions in 2019, 2020, 48 receptions, 400 yards in 2019, the receiving game, and 2020, 588 receiving yards. So this guy is also a dual threat running back, like I said, and it's really going to depend where these guys go to who is going to be a potential second-round pick in fantasy football or a third-round pick in your 2021 fantasy football drafts come August, because it always happens. One of these running backs is going to skyrocket, maybe even 2 of them, depending on their landing spot. Let me know down below. For Etienne Williams as well as Naji Harris, where's your guys' dream landing spot, dream NFL team for them to land for fantasy football in 2021? And while you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you are new. Next up, we got the Swiss Army knife, Rondale Moore, wide receiver of Purdue, 5'7", 181 pounds. This guy still weighs more than fucking Devonta Smith, and the guy's pretty much 4 feet tall, 5'7", 181 pounds, 20 years young, very young player out of Purdue. 4.32 40-yard dash. This guy's basically Lightning McQueen off the line. 39th percentile speed score, 96th percentile burst score, 94th percentile agility score, and a 72nd percentile catch radius. His best comparable player on Player Profiler is T.Y. Hilton, but frankly, I don't really see that. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe to you guys, he looks just like T.Y. Hilton. Now, the best thing about Rondale Moore being so interesting is because he's kind of a sexy pick, because this guy is going to be moving all around. He's going to be able to rush the ball as well. He's kind of one of these guys that you want to get into a scenario where he's going to be able to do a lot of things on the field. You want him on a team where they are going to do some crazy shit with the ball, pretty much a team where they have a good head coach who will actually give Rondale Moore the ball. I don't think he's going to be like a 10th round pick in fantasy, but I think he's actually worth a late round flyer in drafts because of how interesting he's going to be depending on where he lands. Obviously one of the best landing spots for a shape-shifting guy, a fucking Swiss Army knife player, is the Saints. Because for some reason, Taysom Hill is still good, and maybe Rondale Moore's Taysom Hill 2.0. The Packers, good head coach in LaFleur, and the Chiefs, they need a wide receiver, and it would be crazy to see him with Mr. Patty Mahomes. In 2020, Rondale Moore in his 3rd season at Purdue, sorry, I apologize for stuttering a little bit there. Today, Junior, he played in 3 games. 35 receptions, 270 receiving yards, 0 receiving touchdowns, but he had 6 rushing attempts as well as 32 rushing yards. So he's not necessarily going to be a guy that's going to get a zillion rushes in a season, but he's kind of shape-shifty like that. You kind of want to get this guy out in space to put the defender in what you can only describe as a certified mental fucking pretzel. He doesn't necessarily have 3 years of production in college football. 2019, 4 games. 2020, 3 games. But he broke out his freshman season playing 13 games, 114 receptions, 1,258 receiving yards, 12 receiving touchdowns, 29.0% target share of that offense, as well as 744 special team yards. So I really do believe that Rashad Bateman, he's the next player we're going to be talking about, Rondale Moore, could get it done if he is found at the correct spot at the NFL level. Next guy up here, I kind of spoiled it. Rashad Bateman, wide receiver of the Minnesota Gophers. 6 feet tall, 190 pounds, 21.4 years old, 4.43 40-yard dash. Again, another guy that's basically lightning fucking McQueen. Now, he didn't play too many games in 2020, only playing 5 games in the COVID season, 36 receptions on 56 targets for 472 receiving yards, 30.4% target share of the offense, 64.3% catch rate, 2 total tugs in the receiving game. He also, just like with Rondale Moore, broke out in his freshman season with 704 receiving yards, but his best year was 2019, 13 games, 60 receptions, 93 targets, 1,219 receiving yards, 28.8% target share of the offense, and 64.5% catch rate for 11 total touchdowns. So, given the right spot, given a lot of these teams need wide receivers early, if he is like the number 1, number 2 guy on the Ravens, or on the Titans, the number 2 behind A.J. Brown, maybe the number 2 behind scary F1 Terry McLaurin in Washington, the future could be brighter than a fucking star for Rashad Bateman on any of those teams. Next guy up here, we got Naji Harris, running back of the Alabama Crimson Tide. 6'1", 232 pounds, 23.1 years old. Just like with Etienne, just like with Javonte Williams, this guy is good in both facets of the game. Can rush the ball as well as receive the ball, meaning he is a dual threat running back. 13 games played last year, 251 rushing attempts, 1,466 rushing yards, 30 fucking touchdowns. 30 touchdowns, 43 receptions on 57 targets, 425 receiving yards, 13.4% target share on his junior year. 2019 when he broke out, 13 games, 209 rushes for 1,224 rushing yards, 20 touchdowns, 27 receptions, 304 receiving yards, 8.9% target share in the offense. So this guy is clearly ready to get a workhorse level rushes in the NFL, just like Etienne. Can Williams can't handle it? Not sure yet, but I think he will be able to. All 3 of these guys are so interesting. Will any of them get picked in the first round? I don't know. But it will certainly be fun to watch. And final player, this guy is a deep sleeper. This guy slept so hard that he fucking fell off the top ropes from being potentially maybe this guy's the first running back off the board people were talking about. People were saying it last year. Chuba Hubbard, running back out of Oklahoma State, where I believe Barry Sanders played. Maybe I'm wrong. So that's just off the top of my head, and I was not alive when Barry Sanders was playing. I don't believe. 6 feet tall, or I don't remember because I would have been like fucking 3 years old. 6 feet tall, 208 pounds, 21.9 years old, 28.2 BMI. Again, don't buy too much into BMI, body mass index. It frankly does not mean anything, at least to me. Now, you might be wondering, Nick, how great of a fall was this? Like Humpty Dumpty off the Great Wall. This man rushed in 2019 for guess what? Sorry, I got a little bit close to the mic there. For 2,094 rushing yards, 21 total touchdowns, 22 receptions, 31 targets, 198 receiving yards last year. Fell off of a cliff. 7 games, 133 rushes, 625 rushing yards, 6 total touchdowns, 8 receptions, 10 targets, 52 receiving yards. Let's just see how this plays out in the NFL. Let's just see. He's going to be a much later round pick, maybe a 4th round pick if we're lucky. Probably a day 3 guy. Going to be very interesting to see where he ends up going. Because if he lands on a team where I'm not loving the running back 1 and he starts knocking on the fucking door, maybe we see him blow up and play great. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, it's just some love from the fact that in 2019 I watched this guy's tape and he looked like the second coming of fucking Bo Jackson. So thank you guys all for watching. I love you all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Thank you guys so much for watching again. Say hi to my cat Garfield in the back. Just ate some lasagna. Not actually, but you know, it is what it is. I love you guys all. Stay safe. Have a great rest of your guys' weekend. I'll see you beautiful bastards Saturday with another banger. Probably not directly in the morning because I don't have much time to record tomorrow. I'm going to be going out later. I'll probably be hungover, but I will record while I'm hungover and have a great time because I try to make videos every single day. Because it's fun, frankly. That's why I do it. It's so fun just talking here, and there's always comments to talk to. So make sure you leave a comment down below. I always try to get to the comments within the same day. If I don't, always remember, I'm going to see it. I'm going to come back and answer you. So thank you guys all so much. I love you guys all. Leave down below the word beef. Shout out Wendy's. I love you guys all. Goodbye.